We're going to be using lyrics from Kanye West and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne record and examining some lyrics to go over these ideas of karmic retribution and manufacturing consent, what this means esoterically, and to really good grasp of what this means when I say it doesn't matter if you believe it. They do. So let's kind of get into this and let's break this down. Watch the Throne came out in 2011 and it followed Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy album. And it really was a pivotal moment in these artists' careers. And I'm going to kind of explain why. In my personal opinion, Watch the Throne is the album that really catapulted Jay-Z and Kanye into a completely different bracket as far as hip-hop legends go. Obviously, both of them had hit records, and both of them had tons of success in the music industry prior to this. But this record really brought some of Jay-Z's more spiritual insights to the forefront. And I really think this is the beginning of Jay-Z's real ascent into this kind of billionaire status. And the way that he got there, and the way that Kanye got there, really was through this idea of karmic retribution and this kind of manufactured consent. I personally believe that later Ye had issues with this concept, especially with losing his mother. And I think that this is the genesis and the cause of his heavy swing back to Christianity and doing the whole gospel thing. I think that he had a really heavy spiritual wrestling with this. And I think this is the real spark into that worldly, glamorous, high art, money, material sort of world, I guess you would say. And the lyrics to No Church in the Wild specifically give us the insight of this. Now, karmic retribution is something I've gone over various times in the past, but I think that this is the time I really want it to be cemented, and I really want it to hit home. So karmic retribution is this idea that essentially if you are informing somebody with what you are doing, if they consent to it, you cannot have anything negative happen to you karmically. I always use the example of a joke. If I say, man, shut up or I'm going to kill you, and I'm joking, okay, it's a lot different than me saying, shut up, I'm going to kill you. However, if these were read in a courtroom, they would read the exact same way. And I believe that this is the way that these individuals operate, and this is the way that they basically perform witchcraft on the listeners, and that they get this consent. And we're going to see this exact thing talked about in No Church in the Wild. Now, the interesting thing about Watch the Throne, now what No Church in the Wild is doing is it's sort of acting as this like creed where Ye and Jay-Z are literally saying that they're forming a new religion. Now, if we're looking at this through the lens of it being something that is channeling this karmic retribution contract, pretty hard to argue with. We have to look at this as if everything has this sort of double speak aspect to it. So while things can be metaphorical, they can also be literal at the same time. These things can operate in this dualistic way. And I think sometimes people overlook the fact that things can be metaphorical and literal at the same time. I think the Bible has a ton of aspects of that. But when we look at the lyrics to No Church in the Wild, what we see from Kanye's verse is no sins as long as there's permission, and deception is the only felony. So never fuck nobody without telling me, okay? So this right here is reiterating the karmic retribution ideology. If you're giving me permission by listening to these lyrics, I can do whatever I want and nothing bad will happen to me. And I think when we pair this with the chorus by Frank Ocean, where it says, human beings in a mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything? Will he make it out alive? In my opinion, they are saying you are a part of the mob. You're the mob. Okay, the listener is the mob. And what is a mob to a king? What I'm seeing with this and the way I'm interpreting this is Jay-Z and Kanye believe themselves to be the kings. Okay? Yeah, you're in the mob, right? A mob is obviously a big scary thing. But what is a mob to a king? But then they're elevating it a sense. What's a king to a god, right? At the time, if you look at Jay-Z and Kanye's careers, they were definitely kings of hip hop. Absolutely, right? But in 2011, this is before Kanye started Yeezy, and Yeezy was as big as it was, right? Remember the house way, all of that, right? That happened in like 2013, 2014. That all happened after this. There was no Yeezy. Like some of the younger guys Kanye was just a rapper at this point. He had done things with Nike, the Red Octobers and all this other stuff. He had done things with Nike. He had his own shoe, but it was nothing like it is now or like it was 5 years ago, more so, right? And the same thing with kind of Jay-Z. Jay-Z at this time was very big. He was very wealthy, right? But nowhere near what he is now. Okay. And in my opinion, this is when the ideology with what Kanye and Jay-Z are doing shifts. Okay. This is when they want to go from being hip hop moguls to ascending to something higher. This is right before Kanye got into fashion. And this is right before Jay-Z's net worth really blew up, right? So if we think about Kanye's net worth in 2012, so a year after this came out, was $35 million. 5 years later, okay, 6 years later, in 2018, he was worth $400 million, right? That is more than 10xing your money, okay? And if we look at this chart of Jay-Z's net worth, right around this time is when Jay-Z's net worth also catapults, okay? This is what they're seeing themselves as. They're seeing themselves as transcending from kings into gods. This is when Marina Abramovich started coming around Jay-Z. This is when a lot of the spirit cooking, weird Malachian stuff started happening. Okay, this is right before Jay-Z did Picasso Baby, where Marina Abramovich does the whole thing with him, right? This whole performance piece. And in this Picasso Baby video, there's also a bullheaded man, okay? This bullheaded man, all right, yeah, sure, it's like just this guy, he's wearing a bullhead, which obviously is a direct relation to Moloch. But this artist right here has some of the most insane art that I've ever seen. And this Picasso Baby song has references to Picasso, the Mona Lisa, Francis Bacon, Basquiat, Andy Warhol, okay? It is an elevation of who Jay-Z believes himself to be. And I believe that he's using this spiritual sort of thing, this I believe I'm ascending from a king into a god artistically and in the business world financially. And he's doing it through this sort of new religion that he believes he's making, which is based off of no sins as long as there's permission. And deception is the only felony. Right? Deceptively doing things without the permission of the listener is a crime in this new religion. Andres Serrano is also in this video. He was the artist who did the Piss Christ, was very infamous about a decade ago. And then the individual who is in this bull mask, okay, this is a reference to Picasso, who did a photo shoot wearing the bull mask. It's obviously more reverential towards Moloch or Baal, okay? Remember, Baal, okay, Bach-El, okay, for the people who freak out and go, it's not Baal, it's El. His name is Bach-El, okay? It's both. An extension of the name. It's the actual name, not just El. Okay. The other thing is it is synonymous now with Moloch. Moloch is a type of sacrifice, specifically the sacrifice of children. Okay. There was a translation error because Moloch is a proper noun and it is capitalized. So people started calling Baal Moloch. You can see how there's tons of confusion with this, and individuals who are trying to confuse and deceive people often interchange the words, and they will create these fake arguments to try to decredit and demoralize people who are trying to spread information and truth on this. But the individual in the cow head, I actually did a reel on it. I can't find it. It was on my Instagram, but this individual is very bizarre, and he had a ton of artwork that featured individuals and people in various sort of low energy situations, very violent imagery, very bizarre, very Malachian, very of the entire sort of spirit cooking Marina Abramovich sort of lane. If you want more information on Marina Abramovich, I have several breakdowns of her on my Patreon, and I'm sure I'll bring some of that over to YouTube as well. But let's get back to what I am talking about here.